Let's begin a look at the papers this morning with the Nigerian Tribune, which leads with businesses can't grow at 30% interest rate. Dangote tells FG, government working with man on new roadmap to improve manufacturing. That's according to the Vice President Shetima. Find the details of that story on page 6 of the paper today. The same story you find on the front page of the Daily Trust newspaper. CBN's interest rate hike hindering growth, job creation, as ascribed to Dangote. Macroeconomic environment stifling manufacturing sector, as according to man. FG hops on local content, made in Nigeria goods. Details on page 4 of the paper today. The Nigerian News Direct leads with the same story, why FG must consider private investments as national assets. Says foreign investors will only come when local investors are thriving, as VP Shetima hops on local content. Details of that story you find on page 3 of the paper today. The Guardian newspaper leads with Orosai report, proposed mergers rattle MDAs, lobbying intensifies at National Assembly. Details of that story you find on page 6 of the paper this morning. The Daily Independent newspaper, revamping manufacturing sector, FG seeks policy framework from man for instant implementation, demands prioritization of local content made in Nigeria goods, approves withholding tax exemption for small businesses. Dangote says nobody can create jobs with interest rate at 30%. The story has its details on page 29. At the bottom of that page you find NNPC Limited declares state of emergency on crude oil production. What does that mean? Check the details on the front page continues on the inside pages of the paper. The Blueprint newspaper, however, leads with that one. Concerns as NNPCL declares state of emergency on crude oil production. Join the war or be left behind, Kyari tells IOCs. Details on the front page continues on the inside pages. The Business Day newspaper has a different concern. Concerns over Naira inflation as money supply hits 99.23 trillion Naira. Details on the front page continues on the inside pages of the paper. The Nigerian Observer has this one. Is it cheering to you? FG clears $850 million debt to foreign airlines. Cancels withholding tax to farmers, manufacturers. Details on the front page of the paper today. Look at the front page of the Daily Times newspaper. State of the Nation. Food riots very imminent in Nigeria, warns Agbakoba. The details are on page 2 of the paper today. Those are some of the papers we have for you this morning.
Indeed, quite a lot of things going on in the news this morning. Some of them pretty disturbing. That Abakoba story is actually one that really worries me. You know, the idea of food riots in the midst of this economic hardship and how people are dealing with it and how they're handling it. Something that keeps a lot of us worried every single day. How are you coping? And if you're listening to us right now and you're really going through it right now, you're not alone. A lot of us out there, you don't despair. Don't despair. It's a difficult time, not a difficult life. And everything is going to get better. I want you to be able to talk about this story it's in business, but from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, and it's Aliko Dangote. In fact, we were talking about this, I think we were talking about it yesterday. We said, if Dangote is complaining, where do we go? what do we do if Dangote is having issues? And it's about this CBN interest rate. The interest rate hike, he says, is hindering growth and job creation. From the Daily Trust newspaper. Microeconomic environment stifling the manufacturing sector, says the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, and the federal government hopping on local content and made in Nigeria goods. But if you go to page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper, you'll see where he's talking about this interest rate. He was at the villa when he said it. He was at the presidential, the banquet hall of the villa, where it was the 3-day summit organized by the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. And remember, this is Forbes Africa's richest man. It says, with the current interest rate regime, it will be difficult for the manufacturing industry to create jobs and grow and compete favorably. And this is, the last MPC meeting of the CBN, they had actually increased the monetary policy rate for the third straight time from 24.75% to 26.25%. The interest was decreased by 400 basis points to 22.75%. And, the thing is, with everything that is going on like this, I mean, we had a guest here on the program yesterday that was talking about the fact we're talking about taxes, and he said, look, our tax system in Nigeria actually favors the wealthy, and actually we're taxing the poor. And then if you put all this burden on businesses, the key to pulling us out of the doldrums, pulling us out of the situation that we're in, is growing this manufacturing sector, creating an environment where small businesses can actually thrive, especially with the manufacturing sector. With all of the bottlenecks out there, no matter how much we try to boost our economic environment, if the manufacturing sector continues to suffer and they are unable to do what it is that they need to do to get us out of this problem, then we are, like I said yesterday, winking in the dark. We cannot continue like this. If there's any, it's not black or white. There has to be some sort of creative way that we can encourage manufacturers. If Aliko Dangote is complaining, the rest of us are in trouble.
I think, if I dare put it this way, that I think he's just really drawing attention to the manufacturing sector in Nigeria. And if you look at the perspective that I think he's speaking from, it's, look, I'm not just the only one. I'm just one of several businessmen. And he's talking about the entire manufacturing sector. And don't forget that we often say, and everyone who is anyone in the economy, any economist in Nigeria has spoken about, look, one of the major ways to bring down the Naira-dollar disparity is if Nigeria is a producing and exporting
country
nation.
Yes.
Now, if we have to export all the things that we need in country, there is no way the Naira's value will improve. So that's what he's talking about. That, look, if we're saying we're taxing the manufacturing sector so heavily, we tax their equipment that they bring into the country, we lay this kind of tax on them for the loans that they collect to produce in the country and produce enough to be able to export, then they will not be able to increase jobs. Don't forget that in the middle of all this taxation, we're still talking about increasing minimum wage. And that automatically increases the cost of production, which increases the cost of the products and the services, which might also make us susceptible to more importation, because there are those who believe that it's cheaper to import than it is to produce in Nigeria, and that it doesn't sound like a good thing.
Kudos to Aliko Dangote for actually speaking up about this, because that's why I said it's important to hear the fact that he's talking about this. If other people are not talking, then we would be able to say, oh, maybe it favors some people, doesn't favor others. But if he's speaking up, then that means there is an actual issue that needs to be addressed.
I think I would say he's adding his voice to it. Don't forget, on this program, you and Chamberlain have had to host the DG of Man, Segun Ajayi Kadri, a number of times, talking about this same thing. We need to make business easier for those who are doing business in the country. If we don't, we have a major issue on our hands. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the employment that he's talking about. He said we can't create jobs. Not that we can't produce. We can produce, but we can't create jobs. And if we can't create jobs, then unemployment will remain. And even those who are on the jobs, they will work until God knows. And
the unemployment might increase.
Exactly.
Because maybe people may have to cut down.
Absolutely. Which the risk is also already been talked about. Now, I know that, this paper, the New Telegraph, is not in the lineup of the papers you saw earlier. But I'm very concerned about what's on the front page. And it seems like it's only the New Telegraph that I have seen this morning that has this on its front page. That the Senate is considering stepping down, is considering the move to decriminalize non-use of NIN. Look at it right there on your front page. Senate steps up move to decriminalize non-use of the National Identity Number as Bill for Repeal, Reenactment of National Identity Management Commission 2024 passes second reading. Will it go to public for public hearing? I'm waiting, and I want to understand. I hope. Let me, the first thing that came to my mind, Kayla, is let me hope that this is being sensationalized. I've not read the details, so let me just hope that somehow maybe it's just a paper that is looking at it from this perspective. But if this happens to be true, then it makes nonsense of all the things that Nigerians had to go through in 2021, 2022, all in the name of, if you don't get your NIN, all of this is going to happen, all of that is going to happen. And the NIN was supposed to be used to fight insecurity. NIN was supposed to be used to de-emphasize, what's that thing, to depopularize, ransom collection. If you call with the number that has NIN on it, you can search out the fellows and all of those things. And now we are hearing this. Let Senate please come and explain.
Well, the leadership also has the same story, but it's on page 12 of the leadership newspaper. And so let's be able to call out the names of the people who are behind this. So leading the debate on the NIMC Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2024, it was sponsored by Senator Barral Jibrin, Kano North Senatorial District, and read by Senator Cyril Fasui, Ekiti North. Barral said the bill will remove the criminalization of the non-use of the NIN. So basically replacing criminal penalties with administrative enforcement measures to encourage compliance with NIN usage. So that's what this is all about.
To encourage. So criminalizing does not encourage.
Yes, according to them.
Criminalizing something does not encourage. So we can just as well get rid of all of the criminal code.
Well, replacing those criminal penalties with administrative enforcement measures.
Okay,
they believe that this will encourage compliance with the NIN.
Can we do that the same thing for armed robbers?
I don't think so.
And pen pushers? I don't know. Administrative enforcement?
I think they will be speaking more on this soon. So if you want to get the New Telegraph is on the front page, and also get the leadership newspaper. It's on page 12 this morning.
Before we make progress, let's quickly take you to Lagos. I know that my colleagues on the morning brief brought it to you, but let's just emphasize that thing again, because it's what I hear that the flood this morning in Lagos was horrendous. Well, Alakpere and Oroshoki areas of the state are currently seriously flooded. I know that the Commissioner for the Environment in Lagos has been going around trying to desilt and remove encumbrances in the way, or the flood paths and all of those things. But please, is there anything that can be done now? We know that these things happen. That someone was trying to describe, flash floods to me. I don't know whether or not this is a flash flood, but the things that it will have destroyed, it is something quite significant. We know that these rains are going to come. So how come they're here now?
And this is also bringing that responsibility on subnationals. Yes, I mean, the Lagos State Governor is not doing too badly in that regard. But the truth is, we can't continue to do this every single year. It's embarrassing, and it's a sign of poor governance. That's what it is. It's a sign of poor governance. You cannot continue to year after year after year be dealing with floods. Flash floods, regular floods, things are destroyed. This is not the case around the world. This is not international best practice. Yes, it's true. When the rains fall, it's possible. Yes, this would happen. But it shouldn't be up to one where we're seeing destruction and things like that, So there's a lot that needs to be done. And state governors need to take this a little bit more seriously.
Well, I know that you'll also say that if people have their own responsibilities, but that's also why we have government.
We have government because people can be recalcitrant, so get it done.
Okay, there are other issues to look at on the program this morning, so stay with us. We'll be right back.